the ladies behind the teller started to kind of giggle. So mom turns around and here's young Cowboy Cole peeing in the fake planter in the corner, and we're on foot. We would time each other on who could run a calf down, rope it, and tie it on foot the
Oh,
fastest.
I should have been a cowboy. I should have learned to rope ride.
And I do believe that means episode number 2 of Should Have Been a Cowboy is underway. Felipe,
woo! Let's go, Cole.
you see what I got in
You
my
do?
hand here, my brother? 3, 2, 1.
I messed up. Sorry, buddy. I was trying to show the mountains.
That's okay. Are they blue?
Dude, just like my
How do you
balls.
do?
I'm just kidding. All right. Well, as
Whoa!
you've just noticed, there's no bars on this podcast.
There are no bars. The only bars we have around are chin ups. I don't know where I was going with that.
I thought it was good. I thought the chin ups was great. I just want to say thanks for listening. If you've made it to the second episode, it means we didn't fuck up that bad on the first one, or you just accidentally fell onto our podcast hoping to listen to Should Have Been a Cowboy.
Or you fell asleep and it's just automatically uploaded this episode. Either way, you're at the right place.
Yeah, you're like you put it onto the ocean sounds, and then at like 1 in the morning, Should Have Been a Cowboy kicks in.
Dude, it just slowly transitions from whale noises to what's going on, guys?
Blue balls. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, this guy's having dreams about beautiful women he cannot touch.
Blue whales and blue balls, man. They're more similar than we will ever know.
That is the name of my autobiography. But coming back to the podcast here, folks, today is a very special episode because today I get to put on my journalist hat here and interview this fine fella, influencer, international star, gay cracker, comedian, writer. Is there anything Cowboy Cole doesn't do?
Um, yeah, do not transition.
Okay, you heard it here, folks.
That's about the only
Uh,
thing, and I will not have sex with old ladies for money.
Many more.
Wear a couple hats, but this is my favorite hat to wear. You know what I'm saying?
I want to before I interview. I just want to talk about the real pain that is wearing a new cowboy hat. I can't not freaking get used to this hat, man. It pisses me off so much.
Yeah, that was me with this hat too. Shout out Pro Hats. I had to take it. I got this reshaped at Greeley Hat Works last week actually, and getting it reshaped helped it fit my noodle a little bit better. And we picked up a hat stretcher, which is I've never had a hat stretcher before in my life, mostly because like this is the most I've ever worn a felt, honestly. When I was a kid growing up, all straws all the time. Did not care, rain or shine, straw hat.
Yeah.
So adapting to the felt has been a process.
Oh, that's very Brazilian of you.
We're straw year round.
Yeah. They
Ah,
tell the
bem,
PBR guys they don't give a
obrigado.
shit. Yeah, they don't give a shit. They're just wearing straws like all year round.
I
They don't
don't
understand
know.
because
Go ahead. All I'm saying is I don't understand why it's such a big deal. People are like, oh, like it's wintertime. What are you doing wearing straw? Blah, blah, blah. It's just like, I don't know, man. If my noodle can take it, then what's the big deal?
I know it's funny. While we're on it, we're going on tangents here. I'm supposed to be interviewing this guy, but when you really think about it, cowboys are supposed to be like these tough, like I don't care, my pants are ripped, I'm dirty. But if there is more finicky people when it comes to clothes and styles and where you need to crease your jeans and what kind of boots are we wearing this season,
Yes.
isn't it funny? Like
Dude, literally how you show up to the rodeo is like people put you in a category, honestly. Like let's
people
be
are
real
reading you
here.
right away, bro. People
The
are
rig
reading
you
you the
pull in,
moment they see you.
the clothes you're wearing, what your hat looks like. Oh yeah, dude. Down to the spurs you're wearing, bro. It's insane. It's insane. So all I'm saying
So
is if
funny.
you like to wear straws year round, wear them, bro. You got Cowboy Cole support.
And for the non-cowboys listening to this podcast who came across from ocean sounds to this, we're talking about there's a rule in the cowboy world. Some people follow it, some people don't, but your real cowboys will tell you they follow it. It's you wear a straw hat in the summer and you wear a felt hat in the winter. So from fall to spring, felt hat. From spring to fall, you wear your straw.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically a felt is like a big toque, pretty much. Honestly, got a full
That
beaver on
doesn't
my
fall
head, bro.
over your ears.
Doesn't go, it shouldn't go over your ears. If you're new to cowboying and you buy a hat that you can pull over your ears like some kids wear their ball caps, which is insane to me, that's not, you bought the wrong hat size. That's all I'm saying. You need to
That's
size
so
down.
funny. All right, let's go back to our let's get off this tangent. So today's episode, I'm going to be interviewing Cole, so you guys learn a little bit more about who this guy is. You know, next episode he'll interview me. For those that may not know us, if you're listening to the podcast, you can also watch it on YouTube.
Hmm.
At what is our YouTube? We don't even have a YouTube yet, do we?
It will be, should have been a cowboy on YouTube.
Should have been a cowboy on YouTube. Should
Yep.
have been a cowboy on all social
On
platforms,
all
including
platforms,
OnlyFans.
especially OF. We have a hell of a deal going on right now for subscriptions. Check it out.
Okay, Cowboy Cole. Let's deep dive Cowboy Cole.
Okay.
Okotoks, Alberta. What was growing up like for you, buddy?
So damn good, man. Honestly,
Yeah.
so damn good. And you know, personally, my buddy Jordy, I
Yes,
feel
sir.
like we got to grow up at like the perfect time to be a kid, especially in Okotoks. It was really small when we were growing up. I remember being a kid and you would have to go across the bridge to the other side of the river and downtown to get to the bank. And the Dairy Queen on the south side of the river was like one of the only things going on over there. I remember when they put the freaking Walmart up there, dude. So
Wow.
we got to grow up in a small enough town to where you could be a kid, like genuinely just go be a kid. But it was still big enough that, we had a small bowling alley, a little 5-pin bowling alley. We had our own little movie theater, stuff like that. So when we weren't at the ranch, just roping and hanging out and hot tubbing, we were in town, jacking around, being idiots. Like
What's your earliest memory of like Cowboy Cole? Like what are you doing?
I remember going to the bank with my mom when it was still downtown in the old building where Hubtown Brewing is now. And my
Yeah.
mom went up to the till and was doing whatever the hell she was doing, banking. And the ladies behind the teller started to kind of giggle. So mom turns around and here's young Cowboy Cole peeing in the fake planter in the corner. Full ranch kid, dude, just pants down, schlong out. It was huge at that time, absolutely monstrous. So people were like amazed and laughing at the same time. And I was just peeing in this bush, and my mom was like, sorry, and like they didn't care. They just thought it was cute and funny. Like this young farm kid just whipped it out right there inside the building.
Oh my
That's one of
god.
my that's one of my earliest memories.
That is a great memory. And for people that are not from Canada listening to this, Okotoks is just south of Calgary, Alberta, in Canada. What are we talking about? 20 minutes? How far south of Calgary? Like 30
Yeah,
minutes?
to the city limits, man. Yeah, you're 15, 20 minutes Okotoks to
15,
Calgary.
20 minutes south of Calgary, Alberta. So I mean, you kind of talked about it the first episode. You know, your dad used to ride bareback, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Bareback, your whole family's involved in ranching and rodeoing. What's your first like memory with horses and with rodeo? Like, do you remember that? Like, what made you want to start roping? Was it your dad? Was it someone else?
What made me want to start roping was I was heavily influenced by my friend group because, like you said, my dad, he was a bareback rider, and very, very successful when he was going to the senior pros and all that. And growing up riding the spur board with him and just going from rodeo to rodeo to rodeo, collecting tape from all the old cowboys, when they'd unwrap their arm, they'd give me their tape and I'd make massive tape balls all the time. So I remember just like hanging out behind the buck and shoots, making tape balls, hanging out with the boys,
Wait, one
everywhere.
sec. Is this like are you like Trevor Brazil? Was your first dream to ride broncs and then you became
Absolutely.
wow.
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
man. I was on the trajectory to ride bucking horses for sure. And like,
Bareback.
yeah. And
And,
like,
and and what happened? What altered that? Did you have a terrible accident? Like you tried it
no,
once and realized it was insane, or what happened?
I'll tell you. At 9 years old, I started riding steers. I went to the Johansson Brothers Steer Riding School, legends at home in Alberta,
Yes, sir.
and had some success at the first school. I ended up, I think I was in like the fucking junior or whatever kind of category of kids, and like
Yeah.
at the end of the weekend, they draw you an old cow, and you get on and they mark you and they give a buckle away. And I won the buckle for my category on
That
this
was your
old,
first buckle.
yeah, dude, on this old
You
heifer
still have
named
it?
Tinkerbell. Yep, it's at mom and dad's.
Tinkerbell?
Yep.
God.
So good, right? Just literally just like this old bald faced red heifer, like so funny, just bloop, ba bloop, ba bloop, but it was rank. When you're a 9-year-old
Oh
kid,
yeah.
you're like, holy fuck, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I started riding steers a little bit more competitively, entering some rodeos. My cousins were bulldogging professionally and like going hard. They were in their prime when I was that
How old
age,
were they
right?
when you were that
Now,
age? No, no, when you were that
ooh,
age, how old were they?
early 30s.
So were they like someone that you looked up to? Like you're like, man, those guys are like legit, they're real cowboys.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so they started packing me around because they wanted to just basically bring me to the pro rodeos, let me watch the old Brahma cows that they were putting kids on at those rodeos because in their mind it was like, well, Cole can buy his card and just come with us. Like it was going to be a no-brainer traveling. So then, started entering some rodeos, started going to some 4-H rodeos and shit like that. And I did not like getting on in the chute. I was so freaking terrified to crawl down in that chute and get mashed up. And I'm a small kid. I'm 5'8" as a 30-year-old man. You know what I mean? I've known my size my whole life. And then you get these heifers in there that they buck and they're small. Like this is back in the day when dads would get right in the chute and fucking headlock these bitches and hold them in the corner, man, and get mashed around with you while you're trying to get a freaking wrap and nod your head. Like, and I did not
Wow.
like that. I did not like crawling down in that chute. Call me a bitch if you want. I don't care. I am unfazed by that. I did not enjoy the shoot part of it. So
Okay, that's a broke it for you, eh? The shoot. It was like I can't do this. I can't.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then when did you pick up the rope? When did you go? When did you make that transition to the time event side of
Yeah.
things?
Always had a rope in my hand growing up as a kid. My grandpa was a calf roper. And then my cousins at Bulldog, they also roped calves and team roped and did
Okay.
the whole deal. So I was always swinging a rope, always roping dummies and feet and blah blah blah. But it was about 12 years old that I like took it seriously and was like, "Oh, I want to rope. All my friends rope. I want to rope with my friends. I want to hang out with my friends. I
Okay.
want to get better and do what they're doing. They're roping out these cool jackpots, winning money. I want to win fucking money. Buddy won a saddle. I want to win a saddle. So then it
Okay.
was like, okay, now we had to find some horsepower and get a kid going.
That's awesome. And tell me about your high school days. We were at your ranch the other day, having some beers there. Jordy was there, and I died at the stories. Tell us a little bit about what that was like. Going to school and rodeoing and high school rodeos and all that.
Yeah, we when I got into high school rodeo is when I was transitioning to still being a male, but I was
Perfect.
transitioning from the
I'm glad we covered that. I'm glad we covered that.
yeah.
This episode, we've talked about your big dick, you not transitioning twice. I'm getting kind of worried, bro. I'm getting a little worried.
Well, let me show you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, by the end of it, like what's going to be happening? The only place that may have us is OnlyFans. But
Literally, our
anyways, go ahead.
OnlyFans deal on the subscriptions now. So what was the question again?
Woo! Tell
My
me
high school,
about
yeah, yeah, yeah.
your transition. Tell me
Yeah, high
about
school
high
rodeo.
school.
And so I moved from the big high school on the hill down to the outreach program. And it was because I was missing so many days at the traditional school, 4 rodeos, 4 high school rodeos to go to other jackpots and things like that. I wasn't falling behind in the coursework, but like on their on their spectrum of days that you should attend school, apparently I was not meeting their quota. So we had a buddy that was already going to school at this outreach school, and he was on and off living with mom at mom and dad's place with us, and good family friend and everything like that. So we started talking to that principal, and we ended up switching me over to there, which was so freaking awesome. It was all online, all correspondence. You could do it as fast as you want. You had help right there at the campus, or you didn't even have to come in. If you could do your stuff at home and submit your quizzes and all that, you're good to go. So there was actually a really cool small group of us of like 5 or 6 of us that went to this outreach school. So we'd go to class at like 8:30 in the morning and we would just bust ass until noon. We had a fast lane at the school. So we would like, this is how crazy this school was. It was built for people that couldn't survive in traditional school, kids that got kicked out for you know, um, drug problems, whatever, fighting, whatever it may be. This was a place for kids to just make school work. So kids were getting smoke breaks all the time. So we're like, well, we're taking freaking roping breaks, lady. You know what I mean? And our teachers were just they didn't care. We were there, we put in work when we were there, we had fun, we were good kids. Everybody there was phenomenal. And so yeah, we'd go to school from like 8 till noon, and then we'd go back to my place, and I had three calves, just these old campaigner calves. We would turn them loose on the 80-acre property, and we would have a match rope, and we'd draw straws for who got what calf, and loose, and we're on foot. We would time each other on who could run a calf down, rope it, and tie it on foot the
Oh,
fastest.
I died because when you told me this story at your ranch there a couple days ago, when you it was already ridiculous when you were telling me, and I was thinking you guys were on horseback because there's a forested part to the ranch. There's so many obstacles. And I was imagining these kids on horseback trying to rope these calves in the bush, but then he's like, no, no, we're on foot, and
Yeah,
that's when I just like died. I'm like, that's so funny, man. And
dude.
tell me, so that you're roping in your breaks in high school, like not many kids get to live that, but then you got to live the dream, which is to go to college. For roping. Where did you go, and what was that experience like? I'm sure there was some wild stories along the way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So like getting to jack around like that is honestly one of the things that I bring back to having the ability to not swing a freaking rope for 3, 4, 5 months, and then get on my horse and go rope everything by 2 feet. Like just playing with a rope like that all the time
Yeah.
helped me push my career with that rope to the point of getting picked up to go to college, which was really cool. I got looked at by a couple schools, and I made the national high school finals in 2011 with Clint Weston. We went down to Gillette, Wyoming. Incredible experience down there. Um, and that was on, dude, this is crazy how this all ties together, because some of the kids that I roped against at that high school finals, there was a couple of them that had already like roped at the BFI and placed at the BFI, like TJ McCauley, Quinn Kessler, RIP Quinn, just passed away this past year. But like there was people like that, a Will Woodfin, Shay Carroll, Colton Schmitz, like kids like that that have now went on to make the NFR, but they were also kids that I then had to go head to head with again in college. So that was dope because I got picked up, ended up getting a scholarship to go to Hobbs, New Mexico, and MJC. Phenomenal. I can't talk highly enough about that place. The school, so good to the rodeo kids. The rodeo program, phenomenal. They got a bunch of outdoor arenas, round pens, a wicked indoor arena. And it was actually kind of fun because that indoor arena was being built while I was going to school there. So there was actually a handful of us that stayed during like the Christmas breaks, the Thanksgiving breaks, and stuff like that. And we just worked on the indoor because we wanted to freaking rope in there, man. And
Yeah.
February in New Mexico is fucking cold.
Oh, it's cold. Yes, cold.
It's
People don't realize how cold it gets.
nasty. And
Yeah.
we're right on that West Texas border. Like, depending what side of Hobbs you're on will determine if you're in Texas or in New Mexico. Like, that was the
Yes,
kind of
sir.
place. So it was just flat West Texas, Eastern New Mexico, wind all the time.
Where the
And
wind lives.
literally,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, that's where the wind calls home, bro. Like,
Yeah.
you knock on
That's
there,
where it
though.
goes home. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we busted our ass to weld on that indoor. You got a bunch of freaking 18, 19-year-old kids welding on this mofo, and we're farm kids and ranch kids. We grew up learning how to weld shit together on the ranch. So it held. That's all I'm saying is that shit held. And then yeah, Hobbs was awesome. 2-year program. Partied a
What did you
lot.
study? Did you study
Yeah.
welding?
I studied this, my man. No, I'm just kidding. No, I got my Associate of Arts over there.
Nice.
And looking back on it, it would have been real easy to get that Associate of Science as well. I just, I did not like science growing up in high school. I did chemistry to like basically pass to get my freaking high school education because you have to take a science of some sort. So I did chem and needed
Yeah.
help through it the whole way. So like I got down to school and I was like, oh, I don't need to take science. I can just take cool stuff. I'm fucking
Yeah.
good. And then you know what I mean? Um, but it was one of the first times that I felt really smart at math because my first year, I don't know what it was, but I guess the math that they taught us in Canada was more advanced than they do in the US, or at least in New
No
Mexico.
way.
Because when I got there, I got bumped up 3 math classes in the first month, dude.
Wow.
Like I was just, it was awesome. I was just banging out equations like a motherfucker. I was like,
You're
this,
just like Sheldon, just killing
dude,
it. Like,
it's crazy when you go from your high school career of finishing a math test in 15 minutes and feeling trash about it, or finishing a math test in 15 minutes and being like, that's a no-brainer. I aced that thing.
yeah, yeah, that
You
doesn't
know?
happen to me often, but
No. So I'm a words guy, not a numbers guy. So yeah,
yeah.
I went and got the Associate of Arts there at Hobbs, and then
And if you had to say like one lesson that you learned during that period, like what would that be? Like, how did that help you become who you are today?
I think the most that I got out of being at Hobbs was just getting to be mentored by the coach that was there my first year and a bit, Philip Berry. Phenomenal horseman, and more importantly, phenomenal human.
Okay,
He always had, I mean, he runs a big horse program out there, has for a long time. So there's always horses for us to ride all the time, and good ones, man. Like they might have had their quirks, or they might have just been young yet and really green, but they were good freaking horses. And the way he would teach us, the way he would work with us on these horses, the things that he would have us do, the things that he would do to us while we were riding them was just incredible, man. It really opened my eyes and really took my horsemanship to a level that I would never have got to on my own. And I don't know if anybody else could have helped me get there, because the way he was able to show me what I needed to do with my horses has just
that's
really
awesome. So
helped.
you would ride his horses, like you would ride the horses from the program down there. You wouldn't take your own.
I would, yeah, I would take my own. Um, but yeah, I mean, my good horse, I would only run a handful on, and then I had a practice horse, and then I had my calf horse.
Okay,
But he had horses that were ready to go rope the donkey on, and so we would spend a Saturday morning and just ride 3 or 4 horses and rope the donkeys, and then maybe track some Holstein calves around and stuff. Or like we were always staying really busy on whatever he had, and they were always so
that's
nice.
awesome.
Mhm.
And outside of the rodeo arena, outside of the math class where you were killing it because of your Great White North education, what was it like? Like, did you guys get into trouble? Is there a story that kind of narrows it down how wild it was? What do you got for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Because like Hobbs can be pretty sketchy. Like you can find yourself on the wrong side of
Yeah.
town. The Walmart wasn't too far from the college, and we would still get phone calls from girls on the rodeo team and be like, "Hey, I feel like I'm being followed around the store right now, and I'm scared to walk out to my truck." And we would fucking drive over there, meet them at the front door, and sure as shit, there would be somebody kind of casing them out. You know what I'm saying? So like,
No way.
you had to be careful for sure. But good old Lubbock was not too far away, and Texas Tech's right there, big college town, big party scene. So we found ourselves going over there a decent amount, an hour and a half, bro. It's not that far of a drive. So we'd go over there, we'd partake, and the beer's cheap down there. Let's be freaking honest. And you know what? While we're talking about cheap beer, when you would go over to Stephenville for the Tarleton Rodeo, Bar C, which I'm pretty sure is still open, I have some crazy memories of that place. Like one time we were driving over there for the college rodeo. There was a massive storm rolling through there, like tornadoes, bunch of shit. We make it over there somehow, some way. We get posted up. We head to Bar C. Storm rolls in again, knocks the power out in this place. And Buddy, who's working the bar, rolls his fucking motorbike in, parks it behind the bar, flicks on the headlamp, and goes, "Bar's open, cash only." But they would have, I don't know if they still do this, but they would have silver coin night where no matter what coin it was, as long as it was silver, it could be 10 cents or fucking 25 cents, it would get you a Lone Star beer. And so we would walk up there with a pocket full of change and just scatter it on the table. And it was basically your tab. They would be like, "Okay, we owe you 30." Like
Amazing, bro.
crazy shit. So yeah, but yeah, dude, I remember going to Lubbock one time with a small group of us, and or we went to Hooters first. We went to Hooters first to just get some food in us, enjoy,
That's how it
watch,
starts.
right?
That's the first mistake.
Look at some boobies, have a good time. But one of our buddies, it was his van that we drove to Lubbock. He was going back out to his van to take shots of Crown Royal out of a bottle while we were sitting there eating. So he's having a drink in the building and then going out and having drinks at the van.
Drink.
Well, he ends up just getting absolutely freaking American Pie drunk, passes out in the bathroom of this Hooters to the point to where the manager comes over to us and is like, "You guys need to get your friend out of the bathroom, or policy, I have to call the police." And we're like, "Don't do that. Please don't do that. We'll get him." And so he had his phone on our table. So we fucking go over there. We slide his phone underneath the door. We're calling the phone. We're banging on the door. Blah blah. I don't want to say any names, but we're like, "Get out of here, dude! Get out of here! Wake up! Wake up!" Sure as shit. As the door opens and he walks out, cops walk in, and we're like, "Oh fuck!" So they come over. They grab him. They take him outside. He's pretty drunk, not being the most cooperative. I don't blame him. You're a 19-year-old testosterone up drunk kid. It's gonna happen. So the cops gave him two options, jail or hospital. And he was like, "I'm not going to the hospital." So they cuff him, man, and fucking put him
I
in the
love the
back of his
hospital.
cop car.
Hospital is not an option. Like the hospital. No, no,
Right?
no.
Like, not a chance, bro. I'm fucking cowboy.
I'll go to jail though.
Yeah. So he's now in the back of a cop car. My other buddy goes walking up to the cops to get information. And they kind of had their backs to him. So when he came walking up, they like turned around and like half hovered over their nines. And he was like, "I just what's going on? Where is he going?" So they explain he's going to whatever freaking Lubbock County Correctional or whatever, which is on the bad side of Lubbock and like outside of town. They're like, "There's a website, you can look him up. It'll show you what time he's going to get released. You can pick him up." And we're like, "Okay."
Basically getting
So
taken to
off
the
he
drunk
goes.
tank.
Yep.
Drunk tank, like okay.
He's going to the drunk tank. Now we have his van. So we're like, "Well, party on, Wayne." You know what I mean? We go to the bar, we have a great time. We leave the bar, no van, because we parked in a no parking spot and they towed this motherfucker. So now
No.
we're standing there with no wheels, a friend in fucking jail, and we're an hour and a half away from New Mexico. So the buddies that I was with, they were talking to some girls, so they go back inside the bar, find these girls, they come out, they agree to give us a ride to the impound lot. We had to go to like 3 or 4 impound lots to find this freaking van. Finally find the van. Buddy won't give it to us because none of our IDs say our friend's name. So we're like,
Oh.
"Well, fuck, man. Like we need this. We need the wheels, even if it's just to go get our friend. We need this freaking van." So we paid almost 400 cash, bro, to get this freaking van out of the impound lot. Like,
What?
honestly, if I learned anything from being in the States, like I feel pretty naive growing up in Alberta. We were very fortunate with where we grew up, how we grew up,
Yes, sir.
economically, everything, right? So then that was like my first taste of like, oh, I just had to basically bribe this human. I had to do something shady to get what I needed. Crazy, right? Get the
That's
van.
so crazy. But
Grab.
that leads us to the next part of the interview, which you're talking about paying people off, you're talking about shady stuff. You end up in Latin America. How did that happen? Like you
Dude.
finish college, what
Yeah.
happens? You come back to Alberta, do you go back to rodeoing?
So when I after Hobbs, I transferred to Texas Tech. I wasn't doing well there educationally. I'd chosen the wrong program again. Like, I started taking agricultural economics, and you and I had a discussion 5 minutes ago about how I fucking don't do numbers. I love words, but I got caught up in like, oh, all my friends are doing this. I can probably get by hanging out with them. Well, I didn't get put in the same fucking classes as them because Texas Tech is huge, bro. Like, I
Yeah.
remember walking into an auditorium of 350 kids for a math class that was mandatory for my course or for my degree. And I spent the first week in that thing and I was just wide-eyed, like, oh, I don't know this. I've never even fucking seen this. Like, it was crazy. So I
Wow.
unfortunately wasn't self-aware enough to pursue educationally what it was that would have worked for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
came home. I was seeing a girl at the time, was just kind of hunkered in around Okotoks. Ended up getting into real estate, got my real estate license because I've always been fascinated in investing in real estate and like owning buildings, owning multifamily complexes, stuff like that. I think it's just a no-brainer. And if I had $3 million in my pocket, I could go fucking set myself up for life tonight. You know what I'm saying? So I got into real estate because I wanted to get into the investment side of it, but I had to deal with all the clientele side of it first, and that really sucked, man. When you show somebody a house that's exact, like maybe not exactly what they wanted, but like close enough in terms of budget and all that bullshit that goes into it, and they're walking because of paint color. I I was too young and too immature to know how to handle that, to know how to help navigate them. I couldn't control my own emotions to be able to help them make a proper decision, right? So
Yeah, let me just step back here one sec, one sec. Like, I did not know you were in real estate. First of all, this has just come out of fucking nowhere. Like, I thought I knew everything about you. Apparently not. And I can't imagine you fucking selling these homes. You're just fucking ripping on these people, for sure.
my best deal I ever made was for a buddy of mine that I actually worked for at a reclamation company in the city for a while. Willie, fucking beauty, him and his wife, their young family now. I was able to help get them into an acreage that was perfect for them.
That's
And
awesome.
they've been able to build a home out of, like, create their home out of it and build their family out of it, man. And like when I look back on it, that was the best deal I ever did commission wise. Yeah, I worked my
Yeah,
ass off and drove my ass off and was on the phone fucking 24/7 for them, but like I wanted to. They were my friends. I knew this was the right deal for them. I knew it was the right place for them. It fit their budget. It fit, they were going to grow their family, this place they could grow with, right? And
yeah.
now, that was 2016 that I was realtor in. Almost 10 years later, 8 years later now, man, they've got fucking two kids and are thriving out of that place. So I look back on it
That's awesome.
and I remember the $11,000 commission check that the brokerage wrote to me for it. And at the time, that was very important to me because I was very broke, paying brokerage fees and doing all the bullshit, paying for marketing, learning how to operate as a business, learning how to sell myself and my services. But at the end of the day, as a 30-year-old, I can look back on it and be like, oh, my grind and my hustle and my push was for the right reasons. Because what it did for Will and his wife and his family, man, if that's all I ever achieved in real estate, that's good enough.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. Would you ever go back to it?
I think so, yeah, with the knowledge I have now, not necessarily to, be a maybe a buyer or a seller representative. I know I could. I know that now about myself and I've learned a lot about how to help people and help navigate situations and deals and crap like that. And to take on the crap that will be given, you know.
Yeah,
But I don't know, man. I feel so good in what I'm doing right now and the trajectory and the visions that I have for it, that real estate will be involved in my life when I have the ability to be like, nah, I'm investing in this because I have the cash to do it and I'm going to build that portfolio.
that's awesome. We're all learning here, folks. We're all learning. I had no idea about this chapter of Cowboy Cole's life. So, how do you go from real estate to Latin America?
Um, Coming out of the real estate deal, I had tried and failed at a couple different business ventures. One, a landscaping company. I tried to fucking mow lawns for people when it wasn't raining. The only thing that was growing was dandelions. And then I started a paddleboard rental business with a friend of mine in town, which did really, really well. We
No
just
way.
we did not manage the business well because we had aspirations to do like snowshoe tours and stuff in the winter and kind of keep it going with rentals like that. And it didn't fucking snow. It didn't freaking snow that
Oh
winter, man.
no.
So it was so hot and we were crushing it. I was doing like $1,500 in paddleboard sales you know, from fucking Tuesday to Thursday, and then another 2 grand from Thursday to Sunday for people doing weekend trips and shit like that. And I think if we really would have just locked in and doubled down on the paddleboards, that rental business would still be going.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, after a few failed ventures, and then the girl that I was with when I came back from tech, her and I split. Um, and I was just at a crossroads of not knowing what to do. Very lost. I was burnt out of roping because it's all I'd done. I'd poured everything into it. And mentally, I was a little bit too immature to know how to. I was living and dying by the sword. If I missed
Was this
one,
like? sorry to cut you off, but while this is all is going on, the real estate, the different ventures, when you come back from the States, you're roping this whole time in
Yeah,
Alberta. You
yeah,
continue rodeoing. Okay, go ahead.
yeah. And I'd go to a rodeo and miss one for money and absolutely execute myself over it.
Yeah,
I wasn't healthy enough mentally, and
yeah,
it drove me fucking mad. It drove me away. It drove me away
yeah.
from the thing that I grew up loving the most and wanting to do the
Yes, sir.
most, which
Yes,
is
sir.
terrible, right? So then I end up on the rigs up north on a on a rig up there, chain wrenching my ass off, slinging frickin' chain wrenches and shit, and
So for people that
learning.
don't know, rigs, you're working oil and gas,
That's correct.
northern
So,
Alberta.
yeah, up north of Fort Mac, living in a camp, waking up. I started as a low man on the totem pole as a floor hand, so I was like up at 4 a.m. to start the truck in fucking minus 40, you know.
Oh dear.
Moved my way up to Derrick Hand, making money, laughing, but I like that was I believe in, there's a reason, season, and a lifetime for everything in our life. And that was just a season and a reason. Honestly, like there was lessons I needed to learn that needed to come from other men than just my dad.
Yeah, for sure.
And
What does one make? What does one make doing that an hour?
my floor hand job, I started out at 450 a day, contracted for 12 hours a day. And then when I got moved up to Derrick Hand, it was
$50.
550. But honestly, man, we were working 14s.
14
So
hours a day, pulling in $550 a day.
yeah, 2 week hitches, 14 days in, 7 days out.
But just the hardest work a man can do
Yeah, some of my
in
coldest
those conditions.
days were up there. Like we went a 2 week stretch where it didn't get warmer than minus 50 Celsius.
Now I
Like,
understand why you went to the tropics. You were so cold. You
yeah,
just
dude.
needed to thaw out.
So coming out of mom and dad would go to Huatuco, Mexico all the time. They've been going there for a long time, to snowbird down there a bit. And I've always wanted to scuba dive. And so my sister Raven and I were like, well, fuck it, let's go to Huatuco. There's Huatuco Dive Center. Let's go get our open water certification. So coming off the rigs, April spring breakup, Raven and I booked a trip. We go down to Mexico. I get my dive master certification, but in the meantime, I fell in love with the shop and the people, and they fell in love with me. And so at the end of my course, they were like, "Would you want to come down and stay and do our dive master internship? You get all the training. We put you up in an apartment. You just work for the shop. You help guide tours. You do all the training. Like we do it with you on the fly." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." So I came home from that and just worked excavation, worked my ass off all summer, running equipment, laying pipe in the trenches, like just nose down, ass up, working for the man. December rolls around. I shipped out with literally just a backpack full of gear and moved to Huatuco, Mexico, and lived in an apartment. And like there were no English speakers around me, bro. I was the gringo. I was the
Wow.
fucking gringo. It was crazy.
That is, what was that experience like, man? Tell me about that.
Dude, so I had COVID not hit, I might still be down there, honestly. Like I loved the lifestyle. I would be at the dive shop at 7 a.m., hauling tanks down to the boat. Our boat captain spoke very little English. I spoke very little Spanish, so we would help each other every single morning. I got to work on my Spanish and help somebody work on their English. And we would take groups out. We would dive twice a day, every day minimum. Sometimes I'd come back to do night dives. Sometimes, there were times where I'd dive 4 times a day, 5 times a day. And it was incredible, dude. Like
Yeah, you
we'd
can't
hang
beat
out at
it,
the
eh?
no, man, because I would work until the latest I would have to be there was until 2 o'clock. And then the rest of the day was mine. I could go drink beer on the beach. I could go surf. I could go skimboard. I could go lay in my air conditioned apartment if I wanted. It didn't matter. Like the lifestyle was incredible. It was not the rat race. It was hey, slow down for a minute and enjoy where the fuck you are and what you're doing. Like really take
Yeah,
in.
man. Yeah,
Yeah,
some about the ocean, and I think just that there's a lot of parallels when you talk about surfing or scuba diving, being near the ocean, and being a cowboy. Just like you have to learn to work with nature, and you just have to slow everything down. You have to be present. You really respect the natural world. The ocean can kill a man in a second, and so can a horse. You know what I mean?
dude.
And so I think there's a lot of parallels, and I think there's a huge allure to it. But tell me about you do that. COVID hits, you got to come back to Canada. Obviously, it changed everyone's lives. I think everyone that's listening to this podcast can relate to that time, which now it feels like it didn't even happen. I don't know, like it's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't that far long ago, but it feels like a bad dream at times. You come back to Canada. Is that when Cowboy Cole, Cowboy with an I, is born? Tell me about that. Your desire to become a comedian, to start making this content and getting behind the mic.
Yeah. First off, I just want to trickle in a quick teaser. I We're gonna have to have an episode where I tell the story of how I had to literally escape from Guatemala to get back to Canada during COVID because that
Whoa!
was an the most insane trip of my life. But
Wow!
when I got home, I wasn't ready to come home. Honestly, like I had no intentions of coming home. I left that December, headed to Mexico, knowing that I needed to go get lost and fucking figure out what this wanted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And so when COVID and all that hit, I was kind of forced home against not against my will, but like I had assessed the situation. The local police in the small village of Guatemala that I was locked down in, like they were a bigger threat than what was going on politically and economically and health wise with all the COVID bullshit. Like the local freaking policeman were the biggest driver of, oh, I need to go now. Like I'm not safe here.
wow.
And so when I got back, freaking had to quarantine in an RV on my parents' place, which we all look back on it now and we're like, man, that was fucking dumb, But it is what it is. It was the times.
Yeah.
It's
No one
whatever.
knew, man. We were cleaning our freaking stuff from the supermarket. Like,
Exactly.
it, we had no idea what the hell was happening, right?
We were all stuck in the same questionable boat. And so when I got back, I went back to work for that excavation company that I worked for the summer prior.
Yeah.
They took me back with open arms. Very thankful for the work that they've given me and the support financially to just let me kind of coast along and figure out what was next. But I knew that that's not what I wanted to do. I was doing work that just did not align with what the hell I wanted to be doing. So I got out of there, ran a landscaping comp or a crew for a guy in Okotoks, phenomenal people there, and then I ended up going back on another oil rig, but closer to home, right in that foothills area around Turner Valley, all that, working on all the horsehead pump jacks. And one day I had been leading up to putting in my 2 weeks because it wasn't the work I wanted to do. It was fucking dangerous. It was cold. It was shitty. And one of the girls I met traveling Guatemala, her and her brother were moving to Whistler, BC, to the ski town to do a season there. And she was like, you should fucking meet us out there. We'll all get a place together. And I was like, that sounds fucking dope. So they started looking into all that. And I'm sitting there at work one day, and the consultant on our job is just having it was his time of the month and he was pissed off about whatever. And he comes in there and they're pumping hot oil and hot water down the well because the horse heads around home, though it's called waxing off. It's just very waxy. So then it can't pump, right? It just gets stuck. So they're pumping hot ass oil at high pressure down this thing to try and disintegrate and loosen up that wax to get this thing going. And Buddy wanted us over cleaning off the pump and like cleaning off the wellhead and everything like that. And our driller was like, absolutely not. Like, what are you talking about? They're pumping hot oil. Nobody's supposed to be within fucking like 50 feet of this thing. And he's going on a tangent, yelling, and he's like, I'm not sending my guys out there. Like, fuck you, get out of here, go back to your truck. Well, while they're having this argument, we just hear this pop, and we look out the doghouse window, and there's fucking hot oil shooting 100 feet in the air because the
Oh,
wellhead let go. And our driller just looked over at this guy, and he was just like blank faced and was like, well, I guess we better fucking do something, and like goes running out there. And that's when
wow.
like when we got everything under control and it was slowed down and we were all kind of sitting there going, holy shit, that was really bad. That's when I was like, hey, I'm fucking done in 2 weeks. This ain't for me. And at the
Fucking
end of
two
that
weeks.
2 weeks, I hopped on a plane with a backpack and a snowboard bag and moved to Whistler.
That is awesome, man. And then is that another one?
Yeah, hold on, everybody. That was your cue to also crack another one.
Irish crickets, baby. So how long do you stay in Whistler for? And how does that lead into this 2.0 Cole that we know today, which is Cowboy Cole?
Yeah. So basically, having been a creative all my life, Um, and not really knowing it, I guess, you know what I mean? Like just being witty, being out there, being vulnerable, being able to make others laugh. I started to dial in on, hey, that makes me feel good. I should do more of that. And then I was just writing content and stuff like that. I started asking myself, well, why don't you write about what you know best? And that's rodeo and roping and cowboys and cowgirls and all the weird shit that we do. And so
Yeah.
I got my sister to help me film a reel, and this was like on the layover between the gap period between working that rig job and going to Whistler. And in
Okay.
between, I got my sister to help me film a reel where it was just a Buckle Bunny joke, and I'm sliding on the ice, and I pull off my glasses, and it's got a cool Rihanna song behind it, and it blew up on TikTok, man, like 1 million+ views,
Wow.
something I've never experienced in my life. And so I was like, well, I should maybe keep this going, maybe try a few more. So while I was in Whistler, I continued to write sketches of like just two team ropers, a team roper and a barrel racer, a team roper and a buckle bunny, just a buckle bunny, like just kept sprinkling in content like that. And it just kept taking off, taking off, taking off, taking off, taking off. And so then my brain was like, oh, there's something here to be played with and to see where it goes. So then, I changed my Instagram handle to Cowboy Cole. Cowboy with a Y was taken. So I was talking to our friend Brooke and was like, well, I don't know, like, what do you think? What should a guy go with? And we tried it, Cowboy with an I, and it was available. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. It's kind of new school and fun and different. And
Yeah.
then the rest is kind of history, honestly, man. I spent the first couple of years of it just making content and kind of not thinking much about it, just making content, dude. Making stuff that I thought was funny and putting it out there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now the past year and a half, 2 years is where I've kind of dialed in and been like, oh, I have the ability to morph this into something more than just posting content. Like this could be something I do on the road or something that I can get my friends involved in and we can all do. Like this is
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. It's so cool how, you're able to take that step because I feel like so many people would have been scared and would have just thought it would have just been a thought, maybe I should, and they never do it, right? So did you have that? Like, were you scared that people were going to judge you? Like, did you have those thoughts of like, no one's going to laugh at this. This is stupid. I shouldn't do this. Like, what was that
Absolutely,
like?
yeah. One thing, one thing that I felt kind of helped prepare me was I watched a lot of Vine and a lot of creators come up on that platform and like moving into YouTube. Oh, excuse me, I had a big old burp right there, boys.
It's funny you say Vine. Like, how crazy is that? Like, Vine came and went. Like,
So
it's nuts.
fast.
Like, I
And
hadn't
you
thought about
saw
Vine in years. They
you
just
saw your
said that.
creators like King Von and stuff like that take huge risks on it, and then they were able to roll it into like your YouTube platforms and everything like that. And shout out King Von. I met him randomly last year in Vegas because there's that UFC fight going on at the like near the
Yeah,
end
yeah.
of NFR. He was just strolling through the Westgate and like walked right through a group of people, and I was like, "Hey, motherfucker, don't walk through here like we don't know who you are." I was the only one
That,
who recognized the guy, but I made him take a picture with me.
that is what is he up to these days? What's he doing? Is he on OnlyFans?
He frick man, he's acting and producing his own shit now. Like he's got an incredible career, right? But like I grew up watching a lot of people that I just thought were very funny and vulnerable, and I could tell that they were making stuff that like was funny in their world. And turns out it's funny in a lot of people's world if you just put it out there. So anytime I filmed something and was getting ready to put it out, I just reminded myself to be vulnerable.
That's
It's
awesome.
just like, fuck it. I tried not to get too caught up in like the views and stuff like that. People would tell me like, oh, you got to post at this time and use these hashtags and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, just fucking put good shit out. People will like
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
And honestly, some of my best sketches didn't get the views, but the comments on it, like people that were paying attention to the smallest of jokes got it. So yeah, anytime I tried to post anything, it was just for the love of the game,
Yes, sir.
honestly.
And that's when it works out, man. I find that when you read about successful people and people that have made it, regardless of what avenue they're doing it, it wasn't necessarily because they were the best or had the most talent or were posting at the right time or following some kind of guideline. They just loved it so much and had so much passion for it that they were willing to just continue to do it over and over and over and over again until one day people started noticing, and it took off. And I think that's a bit of your story. And when did you decide to pick up the mic, like to do stand up? Like, did that come with this idea to go on social media and the TikTok video, or was that a separate entity altogether?
I think leading in, like, always enjoyed stand up as a kid growing up. We watched SNL all the time, Adam Sandler. Like, we were, I don't know, I feel like we got to grow up. Our parents really showed us good comedy as kids. And so I always had a love for just being funny, being somebody that
Yeah.
can craft something out of nothing. Whose line is it anyway? Perfect example, a full improv show where Drew would give it to you right on the spot, and those guys would take it and run with it and do something that you
What's the
were like,
tall guy? What's the tall guy on that show? I love that
oh,
guy.
I don't know if I'll be able to remember his name. I see him clear as day, but like, man, those guys were so talented. And so with I think the content gave me the confidence to maybe try out my own personal jokes. But like growing up doing 4-H and everything like that, I had a lot of success in the public speaking, won the Alberta title the one year. Um,
No way.
Always felt very comfortable. And when you're at the championships or whatever, they give you an improv question after you do your speech. And I remember the one time they gave me the improv question of like living in a glass house. That's all my card said. And I just fucking, my brain was just like, boom, 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 boom. And I walked up there, man, and I had this little tiny auditorium in fucking stitches talking about living in a glass house. And so, I was young when that happened. And then I had another opportunity to kind of be put on the spotlight. I was on this team in grade school, and we won the Alberta. We had to like build a robot that like accomplished something. We ended up winning for Alberta, went down to Atlanta, Georgia, and we got to do some cool stuff when we were down there. We went to a Braves game, we went to the Coca-Cola factory, we went to the CNN building, and during our tour, we got into like a fake setup newsroom. And Buddy was like, "Does anybody want to read a news headline?" And I was like, "I'll fucking do it." Young grade four kid. And so I get up there and I had to read this news story about an elephant getting loose from the zoo and running through the residential and this and that. But there was key points in the teleprompter where it was like, "Hi, my name is," in brackets, insert name, and like from insert city. And like you had to come up with that on your own. And so I did, and I rolled right through it and had a fucking killed it, right? And the person afterwards came up and was like, most people don't get that. Most people are like, "Hi, my name is," insert name, and like just read, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like you got to be able to
Yeah.
read it and think about it while you're reading it. And I've been able to do that since I can remember. And the stand-up side of me, like watching an Adam Sandler go up and tell a random story about how his girlfriend is a freaking snowball woman, like a snowman woman, and how all of his family members have had sex with his snowman girlfriend. And like the fact that he was able to take a story that he literally created and go tell people and make it funny has always been something in my brain. So then one day I got the balls enough to start writing jokes that I thought I could tell to people. I had somebody in my life that was very supportive of that and like helped me seek out the first open mic, went with me to the first open mic, and like was just like, you're writing good stuff and you're only going to get better at it if you go do it. And that's another thing too that I've learned as well is like we're all just rolling with the time. It's all fucking investment in time, man. If you want to do something to be good at it, give it time. Don't get upset about it after 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. Give it real fucking time. Give it 10 years. And if you don't have the patience to stick with it for that long, then it's not what you want to be doing, and that's fine. But do some self-reflection and figure out what the fuck it is you want to put 10 years into. So I try to keep that in mind too with everything. And this even, right? Like when we talked about doing a podcast, we talked about like the workload that we have right now and how we're going to move forward with this and be consistent with it enough to give it that time to be something real, right?
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I believe in that so much. I think my life has shown that. Like you got to stick with it. It takes time. What is it, the 10,000 hour rule or whatever it is?
Yeah.
It's a fact, man. I think rodeo is a big teacher in that. You're not gonna rope a calf your first day. You got to, rope that dummy for, I don't know, 5,000 times before you think about doing it on a horse. And
Yep.
then when that starts, it's going to take a lot of time before it becomes muscle memory. And that's what it takes to win a rodeo in any of the events. And same thing with musicians and stand-up comedy and podcasts, or, why is Joe Rogan the most listened guy in the world? Because he's recording episode 3,500 and whatever. Like, this
Yep.
guy started when no one even knew what a podcast was. And that's why he's the best in the world, not
Yep.
because he's good looking or because he was born this way. It's because he put in the work, and that's what it takes. You got to put in the work. And when you love what you do it for 10 years, you do it for 20, you do it for 50. And like you said, if you can't do it, then find something else. Self-knowledge, I think, is a huge thing. Cole, I learned a lot of things about you, bro, today that I didn't know, and I thought I knew you so well. So I think this is it's been an amazing episode for people to kind of dig in, and I'm sure they're going to learn more about you as we go on. I can't wait to hear this Guatemala story. Like, you left us hanging. That's going to come up eventually in
Dude.
one of the episodes. And I think as we go on, they're going to learn more about us every single day, every single episode. But I think this was very important to kind of set it up as to who Cowboy Cole is. Now, to finish us off here, you've had this photo as your background for the last 2 episodes. What's a cowboy without his horse? Useless. We're only as good as our animals. I know this is your horse, this gray in the background. Tell us about what the hell's going on here, and tell us about this horse.
Well, you guys can actually see the direct result of this on Cowboy Cole YouTube channel, the Cowboy Challenge. That's my buddy Lambert right there. Phenomenal dude. Grew up playing hockey, loves rodeo. Him and I actually also met at Calgary Stampede. When they put me on the
No way.
Jumbotron on my Hot Rodeo Moms tee, he was sitting right behind me. And then
Shut
he and
up.
I, yeah, dude, he was sitting right behind me, which is so funny. And then he and I both work the film industry. He's an AD. I work SSE and transport. And then I walked into the lunchroom of a show called Ride that we were both working on. And he was like, I saw you at Calgary Stampede. And I was like, did you? And he was like, yeah, you were on the Jumbotron, Cowboy Cole. And I was like, yeah, dude, what's up? And honestly, kind of similar with you and me. Like the first time him and I talked, it was just like, oh, this is my person. Like this is somebody that I want in my life. I don't know who this is, but I know I need more of them. Like, and
That is
he
awesome.
I get him to do a bunch of crazy shit for me in videos and just at the ranch. And this was the Cowboy Challenge we did. So he had to load 5 bales as fast as he could in the box of my truck. He had to rope the dummy. Um, However many times you can rope the dummy in 90 seconds, but every time he caught it, I moved the line back. And then this is Boomerang Blue. This is one of our greener horses at the ranch. He hadn't been touched for like 2 months because I was just like come off a string of mic work, busy. He didn't get rode. And then it was how fast can you saddle this horse? And as you can see, it got a little Western right away. It was so funny.
Oh man, I saw the episode. It was hilarious. You got them all dressed up, and Kimes, I think
Shout
Kimes
out
hit
Kimes,
such a guy,
man. Cowboyed him up.
cowboyed him up. And I met him it's funny because I met him the day I went to your house. He was there. And I'm like, oh, this guy grew up with Cole, right? It's funny hearing the backstory now that you met him at the Calgary Stampede, the Calgary
Hmm.
Stampede, bringing people together. Who knows? Maybe they'll be your first sponsor one day. We don't have any sponsors yet. So if you're listening to this podcast right now and you have money to blow, money that you're not going to get anything back from other than the sheer pleasure of seeing Cole and I drink beers for half an hour episodes, please sponsor us. I have 3 kids to feed. Cole has 7 wives and a donkey that is terminally ill, stage 7 cancer. So please, throw your money at us because it'll go a long way.
Everybody thinks having more than one wife is the real deal, but dude, you got to learn how to ride one really well before you ride more than one. You know what I'm saying?
And with that, folks, here's another episode of Should Have Been a Cowboy. We'll
We'll
see you
see you
next
on the
time.
next one.